So, if I were to summarize the major disadvantages of using a DPF in the exhaust system, it would be lower fuel efficiency, excessive cylinder washing and fuel dilution, reduced reliability and increased downtime, and safety concerns.
Lower fuel efficiency is one of the disadvantages.
Does it mean that there are more disadvantages?
Before getting into those details, let me remind you, regardless of all the disadvantages, use of DPF causes reduction of particulate matter from the vehicle exhaust, which helps us to significantly minimize the health issues in humans and other species.
Of course, I would agree with you. There is one advantage which is most relevant and important one.
Absolutely. Now coming to the disadvantages of having DPF in your exhaust system. Excessive cylinder washing and fuel dilution. Vehicles which use techniques to inject fuel into the combustion chamber towards exit of the exhaust stroke for active regeneration suffer from excessive fuel dilution and cylinder washing. The unburned fuel in this process dilutes the engine oil and removes the thin film of protective engine oil from the cylinder wall. This is the primary reason for the introduction of a dedicated injector which injects fuel directly into the exhaust system. Lower fuel efficiency. Active regeneration cycles introduce raw diesel fuel into the exhaust stream in order to raise the temperature of the DPF to burn off particulate matter trapped in the filter. This excessive use of fuel results in significant reduction in fuel efficiency. Fuel efficiency will also get affected if the DPF is not maintained properly and regularly. For instance, due to various reasons, if the DPF is clogged, the back pressure in the exhaust system increases and it negatively affects the engine performance and fuel efficiency.
DPF clogging? Do you mean the one which happened to my vehicle?
Yes, DPF clogging. That brings us to the next disadvantage of a DPF. Reduced reliability and increased downtime. Under ideal conditions, the DPF should not clog and regeneration cycles should be automatically initiated as necessary to periodically clean the filter. However, filter clogging has become an ongoing problem for many owners, and the reliability of this system has come into question on many occasions.
But what makes the DPF clog? Isn't the regeneration process not good enough to remove particulates from the filter in order to restore its soot collection capacity?
Excellent question. If you recollect our discussions on active and passive regeneration, the vehicle has to fulfill certain driving conditions to actively or passively regenerate the DPF. Assume scenarios where these conditions are not met.
Oh yes, you mean if the regeneration does not happen, the accumulation of soot will ultimately lead to DPF clogging, correct?
Yes, also the ash accumulation eventually leads to DPF clogging.
Ash accumulation? How does ash get accumulated?
Although many sources contribute to ash, the majority of the ash originates in the engine oil. Ash, which is the incombustible material left behind following the regeneration process, builds up over a long period of time. Although the ash only makes up a very small fraction of the incoming soot, it remains in the DPF indefinitely and builds up to high levels. In other words, a high mileage DPF contains much more ash than the soot it was originally designed to capture.
So you intend to say that DPF eventually clogs no matter what you do, isn't it?
Based on my experience so far, yes. But by ensuring proper maintenance and service of the DPF, we can prolong the clogging for a long period of time. Let's get into those details in a bit after we finish the disadvantages of the DPF. The last concern while using a DPF is safety. As we discussed, the temperature of the exhaust system can exceed 600 degrees Celsius during active regeneration, increasing the risk of fire. DPF equipped trucks should not be operated in or around tall grass or other environments where there is a high risk of initiating a fire. There has also been instances of truck catching fire, the causes of which are believed to have been a malfunction of the DPF system.
Oh boy, that's a real concern for sure. So, if I were to summarize the major disadvantages of using a DPF in the exhaust system, it would be lower fuel efficiency, excessive cylinder washing and fuel dilution, reduced reliability and increased downtime, and safety concerns. Okay, now coming back to DPF clogging, please tell me how to prolong the clogging time.
Let me make this easier to understand. Inlet pipes. Any leak in the air inlet pipe or intercooler leads to excess amount of fuel injection. Excessive fuel injection into the cylinder leads to high emission of hydrocarbon. High amount of hydrocarbon in the exhaust means more work for the DPF that accelerates DPF clogging. Fuel injector. Leak in the fuel injector will also lead to high emission of hydrocarbon and more work for the DPF that accelerates DPF clogging. Engine oil. Wrong use of engine oil could lead to more emission and DPF clogging. The Diesel Particulate Filter needs a special low ash oil. We should be using OEM recommended engine oil which are with low ash content. EGR. Sticky EGR is another DPF killer. It pumps crankcase vapors into the exhaust which accelerates DPF clogging. Turbocharger. Another way to accelerate DPF clogging is by letting oil into the exhaust system through a leaky turbocharger oil seal. DPF back pressure sensor. If the access to the pressure sensor get blocked, the DPF regeneration will not get triggered and ultimately leads to DPF clogging. I have touched base on the major topics by which you can prolong the DPF clogging. Maybe not all.
Thanks, JJ. That was a very clear insight on DPF preventive maintenance. Now, are we saying that once the DPF is clogged, we have no other way than replacing it?
DPF replacement is a very expensive affair. Hence, we always suggest DPF cleaning as the first option, which can be done at a fraction of a cost of the DPF replacement.
DPF cleaning? That sounds interesting. Can we get more insight on the topic?
Of course, as the name indicates, we can clean a clogged DPF with different techniques. Let's take a break and come back to discuss in detail the different types of techniques, its pros and cons.
Alright, as long as you promise to help me with an effective method, it's fine.
My responsibility is to open up all the possible options with its pros and cons. The final decision is yours.